Welcome to People First by AllVoices. I am delighted to be joined by Gemma Taylor of Oyster. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about what you're doing over there and a little bit just more about Oyster in general?
Yeah, sure. So I'm a senior learning manager at Oyster HR, which means I develop our learning programs across the company, support lots of different departments, spend a lot of my time looking at how we work as a company spread across lots and lots of countries around the world, working at different time zones. A lot of my job looks at how we collaborate, but I'm also supporting the people function. So when we do a new rollout, when we're looking at the employee experience, it's my job to support that. So I could be writing a bit of comms, could be doing a bit of training, doing what I love doing, which is workshops. Managers can dial me in and I'll just run a workshop on whatever they need. So loads of different stuff. Oyster's mission is to enable people to do good work anywhere around the world. So I'm kind of doing that from my spare room in Leeds, UK.
I remember from our first conversation that you come from an education background, right? So like this was a proper, I guess, like move from education to now, I guess you could call it corporate education, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I started a long time ago in a galaxy far away. I was an engineer. So when I originally trained, my life's passion was going to be engineering, and I worked as an electrical engineer and went up pylons and did loads of cool stuff, but gradually realized it was not my vibe and ended up jacking in my career and retraining as a teacher. So worked with 11 to 18-year-old kids as an engineering teacher in schools in England. Loved it, great. And then opportunity came up, ended up in adult ed. Worked in STEM, which is, I think, something that is probably in lots of different countries. So science, tech, engineering and maths, put them together. And so I did a lot of STEM teacher training. And then a job came up at a startup and I was like, I think I might enjoy this. So yeah, ended up working for Oyster, and I've been there nearly 4 years now. Just it's compared to like teaching has prepared me to never really be bothered by anything any adult can throw at me, because I've literally had things thrown at me. So turning up to work in a remote workplace where everyone is lovely and I've no one's told me any swear words before 9 o'clock in the morning when I've asked them like a very nice question, like, how are you? Which used to happen on a daily basis. So yeah, I'm one of those. You see on LinkedIn, you'll see some teachers who've kind of moved out of teaching into business ed. So yeah, I'm one of those.
I am glad that it's a calmer work environment, dare I say?
I mean, Oyster is incredible. The people, I've never met people like it. So intelligent, so caring. The culture is just all about wanting everyone to be in their best space. And I've not had that in every job. I've had amazing colleagues in all my jobs, but I haven't always had amazing support. So Oyster just it was like, I describe it as when you have your operating system. Like when I had kids, my operating system got rebooted and I just became a different person. And Oyster has kind of done a similar thing with work. I've just been rebooted to how you can work and live. Like I don't have to commute anymore. Just everyone is willing, even though I just can't believe how close I feel to people that I've never met. It's incredible. Yeah, that's where I am now.
Yeah, it sounds like a great software update. Yeah, good job over there at Oyster, right? Yeah, I have a couple of questions now that we talked a little bit about your education background. I think in our first conversation, we discussed some of the transferable skills and techniques that you were able to bring along from the education field onto the startup realm. So I'm curious to find out, what do you think every L&D specialist should be, bringing over? Like, what techniques should they be using from the education world and what works?
Oh, nice. I mean, literally it happened last week. I would say a really good example of this is my company is looking to become more proficient in a particular field. And the first thing I did is go back to basics. What's the framework? What's the curriculum? What are we trying to achieve? I know a lot of the conversation in L&D is that training doesn't always fix a problem. Training is part of a solution, but it has to be like a suite of solutions. But for me, I wholeheartedly agree with that. And I need to have alignment on what the progression is. And that's proper teaching. You don't try and get a kid. We have grades and assessments. So I think I don't want to grade my employees. That's not what it's about, because adults don't Adult learning is about like self-led interest, motivation, why you want to get there. But I really think, having been a teacher, I need to very clearly have the frameworks and the path in place. And then I always say, I'm sorry I'm being such a teacher about this, but how will they get from A to B? Because it sounds like we want them to get to Z straight away, and that worries me a little. Yeah, so that's biggest. So like facilitating, such a dream to be in front of people in a team and holding space for them to talk. And I think that's a really teachery thing. I do like talking, but I don't think I was the teacher who liked to talk at. I always like to try and gather the knowledge in the room and try and move on from it. So I really like the fact that in online facilitation, you can really do that, especially with tools like Miro, whiteboarding. So yeah, I think that's been really helpful. I think when you've been a teacher and you've seen people turn off every day, because you can't see them turn off when you're online. So you just kind of know, like, that's enough now. Talk to me.
Before we get into maybe some of the tactics and techniques of managing a globally remote L&D program, I'd love to hear. And before I want to preface this by saying I'm not bashing remote work or prefer being in the office. I don't. All Voices is completely remote. We love it over here. But that said, are there any shortcomings when it comes to being completely remote and having an L&D?
Oh,
Oh, and I want to help you out with this one. I believe in our previous conversation, you gave the example of like, in education, you were able to see like, was it like a proximity kind of deal where you could see everyone kind of like, I don't
yeah,
understand that. And you could kind of see their faces and react and help coach them a little better. But I'll let
yeah.
you include this one.
I mean, I guess that's true. I mean, doing face-to-face training, you feed off the room. So there is an immediate, I would like, maybe it's like a dopamine hit equivalent. Like when people are in front of the room and they get it and you see that, that's a dopamine hit as a teacher being there. Even if you weren't involved, even if it was you facilitating a conversation that they had with a peer, that's a massive kick for you. You don't necessarily get that online. You kind of finish a workshop and then you'd go and get a cup of tea and you're like, did that make sense for anyone? I guess with online though, you work harder to find out what people have got from it. So it doesn't give you the warm, fuzzy glow. It doesn't give you the dopamine hit if I've done a good job, but you kind of have to work harder to get people to say what they got from a moment, to go back to them a week later and say, like, what did you plan to do? How's that action plan going? Um, so yeah, there is there is a bit of a difference. Yeah, I mean, the proximity thing you talk about is something I used to do when I was when I was a teacher. If someone wasn't paying attention to me, which is like very frequently happened, I taught a lot of naughty kids. What I would do is stand behind their shoulder while I was talking, just to let them know that I'm right here. And like a kid will automatically I'm not overbearing. I'm not like on top of them, but I would stand like behind their shoulder, just let them know I'm talking. I'm present in the room. I'm expecting them to stop doing whatever they're doing with their pencil case or their mate. And in adult ed, you could kind of do similar. You'd kind of walk around near people, and if they were on whatever online shopping system they were on, you could be like, just like, I've clocked it. I'm not going to tell you off because you're an adult. You do what you want with your time, but just
Yeah.
so we both know I know. But online you can't. So you just have to I think you force engagement moments back in. So it might be like getting a thumbs up, thumbs down, getting people to like turn on their cameras if they're comfortable. Yeah, there is. And my partner's a teacher, and I find that really interesting because they couldn't do remote. They can't do remote work. They don't like remote facilitation. It's just not their thing, and they don't get, but I've kind of learned like the advantages that I get from it with the freedom, with the ability to pick my kids up from school, the no commute. I'm willing to forgive the lack of dopamine for that workshop.
I guess like nowadays, the dopamine hits can come from like, I don't know, maybe a compliment on Slack or somebody giving an emoji after you put a report somewhere on Team Slack, right? Like you got a good thumbs up, a heart, like, oh, that was excellent, right? Like,
Yeah, I think for me it's a good conversation.
okay.
Yeah, and it doesn't and then there's the bit about, well, is that just extroverts giving their opinion? There's different ways that you can get conversation to happen, like giving people a chance to write down their ideas before you ask them to talk about them. But there was a workshop I did at Oyster about a year ago, and it was a really extrovert team who wanted to talk about their ways of working and how they collaborated across countries, and they were in different time zones, and they were struggling to feel like they were connecting. They really wanted to connect. It was like a real driver for them. They talked about having pizza nights and beers and like loads of like virtual stuff where they could connect. And then there was the safety in the room where someone who was quite quiet just said, I'd rather spend time with my children. Like, I love you guys. And that was beautiful. I've never forgotten that, because I was like, if an online workshop can mean that that person doesn't feel like they're now booked into a regular pizza Wednesday without wanting to. So I do love online for that, because I feel like it gives everyone the chance to give a voice. They put their hand up, they waited, and they got to say that. It was that to me was amazing, because the whole team were like, "What? Oh, yeah,
Um,
you're right."
and okay, now I feel like is the appropriate time to ask. Like you have all these different personalities, introverts, extroverts, completely dispersed throughout the world. You know, Oyster is a very much globally remote company. How do you even come up with a learning and development program or some kind of like mentorship program for all these employees?
Oh, well, I mean, especially as we've got, I mean, languages really, we use business English, and that's very strong. We have like the oyster culture I think it's evolved over time. So I think for me, it's important to have a feel for what words will land. So what the needs are, and then not to assume that because someone has enjoyed something over here, it will work over there. So I think whenever we look at doing something company wide, we try to use a tone of voice, which is one which is going to be cross cultural. So we use Americanized English as part of how we write, but we try and avoid using any isms, any local dialect. We try and stay really like open and inclusive. So that's like one of the basics, is making sure that all of our communications is going to invite anyone to take part. And then when it comes to an actual training session, it's really normal for everyone at Oyster to be from different places. So I think maybe in another company, you might have a central office and you might have people coming in from different countries. But for us, it's so normal for you just to have 7, 8, 9 different countries in a room at any one time. I don't think we have to do too much work to make that, as long as our comms is right and as long as people all understand the basics of why they're there,
Mhm.
we're usually pretty good. Like good learning principles, but also we don't tend to get like we try and avoid getting people together unless it's the right reason to do it. So I don't want to wake someone up in the middle of the night to force them to come to something that could have been a presentation on a video. So that's another, like, what I try and take really seriously is I will only ever ask to see you live if it's going to mean you are giving information and you are getting information and you are sharing and you're collaborating. Otherwise, if I could give you the information because it's that, like an update or something, I'm going to do that async. So I try and like have that unwritten contract with the people that attend. But we have like really nice, we've done a personal optimization course that we ran for maybe a year, and we had probably about a quarter of the company go through it. And it was all about how it was called personal OS. So if you think about having a team operating system and a company way of working, we had a personal way of working. And it was a course where you just joined with anyone. And there was just like 15 to 20 people who maybe knew each other, maybe don't. And they all just turned up because they all wanted to optimize something about their working day. Like they wanted, and the whole thing was about, if you get this right, you can get more time back for you, get a handle on your calendar. Like, why would you not? So not mandatory, completely voluntary, people from all over the world, all different problems, all different lifestyles. It was just beautiful. And because Oyster is Oyster, everyone was curious and interested, and the breakout rooms were really vibrant and people were sharing like their real life stories. So yeah, that's like, I guess in some ways we work quite hard to make sure that we hit the right notes culturally, and in other ways the oyster culture is so inclusive, it's quite easy.
I was gonna say that also speaks to your culture because people are taking time out of their day to learn a skill in order to be more productive and potentially help themselves as well as help the company. So you're facilitating all these conversations and really helping people improve themselves. And it's probably something that a lot of companies should be doing and may not necessarily be investing in, right?
And it was like it was yeah, that, I mean, a lot of what we do is just clever people, because we hire clever people. It's clever people being in a room with other clever people who maybe just haven't had time to stop and talk and think about what the problem is. And when you give them that space, generally they tend to work stuff out. When it comes to personal optimization, that type of thing, when it's cross company collaboration. I mean, one thing, like sometimes things do need a bit of formal work, but yeah, a lot of what you do is just putting clever people in a room with each other and saying, what do we actually need to achieve here? They just go for it.
This one's question's a little off topic, but I'm assuming it's the same type of individuals that you've probably taught or associated with in these like STEM programs. Right? Is there individuals that are looking for, um, maybe the like a more intelligent way of optimizing a system, productivity or an
I mean, well,
existing technology, right?
they were intelligent, like amazing people. I was doing training on like drones,
Oh
3D
my God.
printing. Yeah, really cool, like computer aided design, that was my stuff. So, yeah, I've gone from doing really practical hands-on training, like we'd build a drone in a day and then we'd fly it on the next day and learn how you can put it in schools. And now everything I do is virtual. That took a bit of a shift for me. But as I say, the payoff for me is being able to pick up my kids, not commute, like live life. And I do get to meet some oysters as well every so often. So that's always lovely. Yeah.
One last question, and I feel like this one, we were just talking about hardware and software and building physical things. What type of tools are you using? You don't necessarily have to name them out if you don't want to promote a company, but has there been anything that's been, useful with your job, with your work? Are you using L&D platforms? Are you making things in house,
Yeah.
or
I
are you
mean,
just using something like a Loom to like record something and say, try this?
yeah, I'm happy to like the tool stack that I use is Notion is our knowledge base, and I was a Notion noob when I came to Oyster. So like anyone who's not sure what Notion is, I've used Confluence before. Like Notion just seemed to visually. It allows me to write down my thoughts. We've just got Notion AI, and that is just my best friend ever. So I've got prompts that help me create courses quickly. I've got prompts that help me create prompts that I can send out to managers to help them do their jobs easier. We're building our knowledge base so that we can make it easier for managers to source what they need. Loads of really cool stuff. And I have never been so techie in my life working at Oyster, surrounded by great techie people working for a tech company. But I'm very analog. So like, although I build drones and I've done 3D printing, community design and stuff like that, I'd still like that. My day to day was still like planning on a whiteboard and things like that. So yeah, Notion is our main knowledge base. I send loads of looms, and I do a lot of education on how to do a loom. Like what's so cool is letting people express in the way which like them. So I think that's something I'm really careful about is there's no one way to present yourself. There's like you just if you're doing a loom, just like try and 10x yourself because otherwise people are probably going to tune out. But 10x for whoever you are because that's what they want to see. And then Sana is the new LMS we've brought in, Sana AI, and that's just like a fresh new way of building content. And we're maybe 8 months into that journey now. The team at Sana are brilliant. They're launching new stuff every week. You literally cannot keep up with the launches they're doing. So yeah, that makes my job really exciting because there's new stuff to play with, which is good. But yeah, I think that's probably my main tool stack. Slack is our main comm system, so I spend a lot of time crafting the right GIF to go out with the right message. Yeah. I think the important change that's come, and probably lots of learning designers will say it, is that AI is helping me generate content quicker. It can dive into our knowledge base, it can pull content out, but the Notion AI is acting like a thought partner for me now. Um, I'm like the prompts I create with it are to challenge my thinking, to test what I've missed. That's like next level stuff that I'm really, really enjoying.
As a content creator and marketer, I have to agree. This new technology, you want to call it LLMs, AI, whatever the case may be, it's really helped me and create things, whether it's videos or blog content. I love it a lot. So
Or my
hopefully,
daughter's bedtime story. Claude was writing my daughter wants a bespoke bedtime story every
oh,
night. And I was on like 430 nights or something ridiculous. And I just had a Claude prompt in my back pocket of my phone. And I just like speak in the next iteration of this story of these two children that I'd made up. So
so it's a like continuing story. Like there is no ending. You just keep it going for as long as your daughter wants.
it's always these two children And I just start every story with, have I told you, have I told you about? And I was just like, I'd say, have I told you about? And I'd just have nothing. I've told you everything. So me and Claude have been fueling bedtime since, I don't know, like 2023, 24.
Hey, it works. And also probably a little less expensive than consistently going to a bookstore and getting a new story every single night, right? So
Yeah. I mean, she
good
has
cost
lots of
saving too.
books. I'm a big book fan, but yeah, there's, I really like how, like there's a lot of like, tool AI is going to take our jobs. There's a lot of that narrative, and I kind of get where that's coming from. And then I have this little cheeky moment where I'm like, actually, for me and my daughter, it's brilliant in that little moment.
Gemma, thank you so much for joining us. Can't wait to get this out there. You're doing wonderful work. Oyster as a whole is just doing awesome. And yeah, we love creating content with you and the folks over there. So we hope to do this again sometime soon.
Cool. Thank you.